matter where you go, no matter what you do, take that Maui style with you. Cause if you ain't Maui styling, you just living on an island. Maui styling, don't let me down. 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 There is sunshine in your heart. It's been with you from the start. Lift your head, look to the heavens, then you will feel brand new again. Don't stop me now, Maui styling, don't let me down. 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 Reach out your hand and help each other. Your mother, your father, your sister and brother. There is love in this family. Pick yourself up and get on your feet. Don't stop me now, Maui styling, don't let me down. 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 Makena styling, up country styling, Campo styling, Kahanapali styling, Hana styling, Waihu styling, Bahia styling, Keanai styling, Maui styling, don't let me down. 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 Maui styling, Maui styling, don't stop me now. Maui styling.
Aloha! Welcome to another Up Close and Personal. Here in 2008, we have a distinguished and a friend. Kalani English.
Hello, Jason. How are you?
Jay Kalani English is the sitting state Senate, I guess, state Senate representative for District 6, right? Which is a lot of you guys.
Well, District 6 is Hana, Upcountry Maui, Molokai, Lanai, and even Kaho'olawe. It's everything all the way from Paia all the way to Ulupalakuas. It's a huge, huge district.
It's a large district, and it's a rural, I want to say rural district. It's, like, I live in downtown Wailuku, the city. But you have a group that has water problems in one way, water problems in another way, and different things with little cultures and private things and things running over. When people think of Hawaii, they think of your area. I think that's it. When they think of Maui.
You're right, they think of Maui. Well, Maui County spent a lot of money making sure that when people think of Hawaii, the first thing they think of is Maui. And we've done that marketing for, probably 20, 30 years.
Right.
So, it's paying off for us now because, if you travel around the world, you say Hawaii, the first thing they'll say is Maui. And then when they come to Maui, where do they want to go? Hana. So we have a lot of people going out to Hana, and there's a lot of traffic on that little road going out there. I've encouraged the tourism industry and the rent-a-car industry to please let their people know that if there's somebody in the back of you, you want to enjoy the waterfalls, enjoy the way, we don't mind it, but just pull over and let us pass.
Right.
It's really simple. So, and that we try to get that message out, that please pull over. But we do have a lot of issues. Water, you said water. Water is a big issue in East Maui, and it's a big issue on Molokai, and it's an issue on Lanai. In fact, it's an issue in our country as well. So
it's an issue. Water. Not a surprise to you.
And you know,
So what are you doing?
yeah, exactly.
Drinking less? Well, there are many things that we can do, but do you have any long-term solutions you've seen that are
Yeah,
getting?
we've put into motion in partnership with the federal government and the county government. We put in motion the funding mechanisms to build reservoirs up country. I mean, finally, it's about
Finally.
storing some of this water when we have it. And so we've partnered with the federal government, the state, and the county to begin putting in the big
So it's
reservoirs.
been taking a long time. Maybe this. Have you heard there's a financial crisis? Depends who you talk to. Personally, some people I know are making more money than they have in their entire life because they have opportunity. Others are sitting there and seeing the stock market and the mortgage thing, and they're going, "Oh my God, my finances!" And there are others that are going, "Look at all these opportunities."
Well, that's what happens in a financial crisis is there's fear and there's opportunity.
Yeah.
And people react to both. There's good reason to be apprehensive. I call it a meltdown. We created this bubble that, that deflated. You think about it, when we start basing our value on mortgages.
On a stated income mortgage, yeah.
Yeah, so we sort of had this coming for a while, and now is a good time for us to take stock of what we have and to really examine the abundance that we have in this district.
Yeah.
We have a lot of food in this district, and people still grow food and people still produce food. I was reading a write-up in one of the Honolulu dailies about Molokai, and somebody was outlining all of the high unemployment, all of the things that are bad for Molokai. And being the senator for Molokai, I read this and I said, well, I think they need some fair play here. There's some fair exposure because they have a lot going for them. If you ask people on Molokai, what are you producing? They'll tell you, we're raising sweet potato, we're raising taro, we're hunting, we're fishing. They're producing food. They are productive. The measurement that is used by the state is how many hours of work you have in a week. So they consider unemployment less than 20 hours a week. So if you ask that question on Molokai, people will say, well, no, I don't work. And then they come up with a real high 35% unemployment number. If you ask another question, are you productive? What are you producing? They'll come back and say, oh yeah, I raise 2 acres of taro. I raise sweet potato. I raise corn. I raise lettuce. We pick limu. We go fishing. We go up to the mountains. Let's look at another scenario that the shipping lane stopped for a week. We'll be out of food here. People on Molokai, the people in this district, in upcountry, in East Maui, Lanai, we have an abundance of food, and so we'll be all right.
Well, that reminds me. You gave me a nice present here. Some seeds for my salad. I think
it's seeds to plant a salad. You don't sprinkle it on the salad.
Right. That's a very important distinction. So these are organic, non-GMO lettuce from Maui Nui. I tell you.
So I'm taking these out, and I'm making a real point. Every election year we go out and we give out all sorts of goodies. This year I wanted to give out something that encourages people to plant food. And so I give them this is enough seed to plant a nice sized garden to feed a nice family.
I'm a nice family. I can do this in small area,
You can do
right?
this in a little pot about one foot wide by maybe 3 feet long. Put it on a
All of us.
windowsill and just plant a little bit. It comes in 3 weeks. You can start harvesting right after 3 weeks and it'll regrow. And because
Comes in 3 weeks. That's almost election time.
Yes,
You
indeed.
can have Kalani lettuce.
Senator's Super Salad Seeds.
Senator Super Salad Seed. That's what it says.
So we're distributing these house to house and giving them away to people. And I've had a
Fun.
lot of people come back and say, wow, I haven't put anything in the ground for a long time and we have some salad.
Yeah. Now we got to do bread, right? You guys want some bread. I've heard that.
Well, actually they're taking taro and they're making flour out of taro. And they're looking at ulu, breadfruit, and making flour out of breadfruit. So, in a real way, we can reduce the carbon footprint of bringing in all this things that we don't necessarily think of as locally produced, like flour. And if we produce breadfruit flour, think about this. You know, we're using something that a lot of people don't eat anymore, putting it into modern context and creating flour for bread.
Well, you know, it's interesting. When I sit and speak with representatives like yourself, we're in a really different time. I had a conversation yesterday with Joe Suki, you know, who's reflecting over a long career and still aware of things that have to be done and real comfortable with the leadership and what's happening. Self-sustainability, we've been a broken record as long as you've been running, even, what do we say, and before. You know, some of us that are political adversaries, we're working together and have common causes and all the fine-tuned reasons that people run in politics. We've been all running and getting closer to the things that we were talking about long ago when it wasn't fashionable to be an environmentalist.
Well, you know,
we've
Jason,
been talking.
I mean, I've been in elected office since 1997, so you know, over 10 years. And I remember when I came back from the UN. You know, I was just coming back from my second career. My first career was an academic. My second career was as a diplomat, and this is my third career as a statesman and politician. But when I first came back, I remember sitting and talking with you and running for council, and we were talking about all of these things, and people thought we were so far left, and now it's become the center, you know. So we have to measure the delta. We have to measure the degrees of change over time, and I think that Maui's come a long way in actually doing the praxis, you know, actually putting into action things we've been talking about. I'm really excited because I see a lot of it, especially in this district.
Well, then, when you were talking about infrastructure stuff and manpower, here we are, we're talking about a reshifting in our economy to be able to use the manpower and get the assistance, and that the bailout really finds its way into productive action to finally create the world that we could have done 20 years ago, but maybe, let's say, God's perfect timing. I hope this is all God's perfect timing and we take what looks like a seed on the side of the road and turn it into a forest. Because we've got great opportunity that happens. What is it they say? To have anything happen, there needs to be change. So,
and you know, change has been a mantra in all the elections. I mean, from my entry into local politics in 1997, I talked about change. I've always stood for change. You know, and you don't get change, the good kind of change, because change can be bad and it can be good. And we always have to build on the foundations that we have, make it stronger, make sure that we don't change something that topples what we value. You know, like change happens. Let's take a look at Kahului. You know, I remember where the Borders is and when it was cane fields. And you know, I was on a council when we did the things with Kim Wapana, Alan Arakawa, Saul Kahalahala, Charmaine Tavares, Wayne Nishiki.
You've seen these people, they're still...
And we tried to put in urban boundaries, and we said that Derry Road should be the natural boundary. Nothing on the Hana side of Derry Road is there yet. And we said that should be the natural boundary, have urban infill, and not let development go on that side. That kind of change, did it make our lives better in Hawaii, in Maui? Did it increase the quality of our life? Did it make us more content and more happy? I don't know.
Did you live up to that line? No.
Well, we couldn't get that. We couldn't get that too. And now we're talking about, guess what? Urban boundaries in the county level. So I really hope that this review of the county plans and the general plan actually put some of those things into...
Draw a line in the sand and make it happen.
Well, you know, because I think that's what our people want. That's what I'm hearing from the guys up country, from the guys of Molokai, Lanai, and in Hana, that, you know, we need to define what the cities are so that we can define what the rural areas are.
Well, we will. Do you enjoy your role as a representative, senator?
I enjoy the Senate very much, and I enjoy the work that I do very much. Over the 10 years in the Senate, you know, I've been able to see the results of projects and things that we we put into motion, you know, that went from a concept, an idea in someone's mind, then to the paper, and then into implementation. Then you go by and you see it. It's like, wow, it's here. Hui no Iao, you know, I remember they had a problem. They needed some help, and they missed some deadlines, but we found a way to help them to ensure that they have that land there and that Hui no Iao stays open as an art center. And you know, as I go by there and I see what they're doing, and I hear people saying how grateful they are that Hui no Iao is there for them, and I feel good about that. You know, it's things that we've been able to help with. Montessori School, we help them, and
Montessori.
you know, the Waldorf schools and other private schools in the area, and the public schools, Kinke Kaulike and Paia School. So these are the things. Yeah, these are the
Look
things.
at all those faces out there. You know,
A lot of
you
people.
can't hide. We know you're there. The fact is, a lot of people watch Akaku, and a lot of people have been watching all that's going on. You have any assuring words for anyone?
Well, you know, I've been a strong advocate for Akaku and to keep public access TV going in Maui County. Because, and it's for you, it's for the people at home, it's for me, it's for you, and this is the great equalizer. This is the thing that it doesn't matter how much money you have, it doesn't matter what you own. The only thing that really matters is if you have something to say and you put it in this media and put it out, take it down to Akaku, they'll air it. They don't edit. They don't edit for content. They'll air anything you want to say.
They'll let us say anything we want. But you know
Absolutely.
what? That's a freedom that I'm really happy to enjoy. Something that you can do too. You know, we don't have to be just us doing it. You can do it. Anything that's important to you, you can share and be part of the community.
So, you know, across the United States, there's these public access networks, TV stations, and there are forces that want to shut these down because, you know, they're very fearful of the idea that, well, free speech, you know, the people are actually saying something, and a lot of people watch these channels. So this is
Can't hide.
This is the protector of our democracy, and for me, it's paramount. It's important that we keep these public channels going because it's the check in our system.
What do you think about this RFP process?
Well, okay, the request for proposal process. Yeah.
But that, I guess, you guys probably have heard. But Akaku has felt challenged because their domain now has a new bidding process where the lowest bidder will get to run the show. And every however often, it'll be reviewed, and so their fear is that there'll be less services available.
Well, yeah, that's
Things like training you and equipment, all kinds of stuff.
that's part of the issue, and we have to be very diligent and very watchful because, you know, the funding for Akaku and these public access channels, it's paid for by all the cable viewers. There's a percentage that's taken off of that and put into a fund.
Just 3. That's a
And-
lot of money.
But you know what's interesting about this, Jason, is that if you look at the distribution of the monies out of this fund, everybody gets a chunk off of it before the public access channel gets the least amount of money from the fund, even though the fund is set up specifically for public access. So
Public
things like
education
HAG,
and government.
you know, a consortium in Honolulu gets a huge chunk. Public PBS, Public Broadcasting Corporation, and TV, they get $1 million more off the top. And then another consortium gets a huge amount. And then what's left, a very small amount, actually goes to public access. So, you know, I'm disturbed by that and how that was set up.
But it also does so very much.
Yes.
The people that are doing it down there are so dedicated.
On that minimal amount of money. Imagine
Oh,
if they got the
fantastic.
full amount that they're supposed to get.
That's right. And it's things like this, you know, where we do independent things outside of the station and all contribute. So in this new age of computer, you too can put television shows on Akaku up on the web. In fact, this is on the web also. So, I mean, that's an exciting thing. I wonder why we're not seeing more up-close shows. I think people are somehow afraid that when announcers or whatever we call us, interviewers will come on, that will ask hard questions. You know, like we're gonna shoot bullets. When in
No,
fact,
it's fine to ask hard questions.
well, but hard questions are, like why? Those kind of questions, like when I was sitting, someone said to me, why didn't you ask Josuke about the super ferry? Why didn't you ask Gladys Bison about Wailea 670? Well, what about this one? Those kind of public airings have their place, but I think this is where you get to really see if someone that's a representative is someone that you can speak to and approach and try to accomplish things that can move forward. So I like the diplomatic approach. It's an interesting
That's, it's my training and it's my background, and so, I mean, I was told many years ago, actually by an ambassador, Madeleine Albright, who was ambassador to the UN, who
Sure.
then became the Secretary of State for the United
Sure.
States. And I worked for the Federated States of Micronesia, another country. And she came over to me one day and she says, we have to work hard at what we do because our words here decide whether or not countries go to war or not. And that really stuck with me. She was absolutely correct. I think that we can settle everything if we just sit down and talk and honestly talk about things. So I learned a lot about diplomacy and how to be creative in thinking and innovative. For example, oftentimes we say, okay, well, we have to divide something, and people go, okay, right down the middle. That's the common thought on how to do it. But sometimes a little bit of questioning, a little bit of discussion, you say, okay, well, we have to split this lemon, and instead of cutting in half, and here's your half, and here's my half, I say, what do you want to do? And you'll say, well, I want to make lemonade. I said, I want to make lemon peels. We divide this lemon differently, based on a little bit of more questioning. You get the inside, I get the outside, we're both happy. See, so that's what I think a senator has to do, and that's what a representative has to do, is that we have to do the probing questions and the inquiry and the creative thinking to say, what is it exactly that we want to do?
Do you find that you get other representatives that are open and willing to get into this kind of a dialogue and come out with things, or you find it?
No, actually, you'd be surprised. The vast majority of the elected people are very open to this kind of discussion because they want to do the best for their constituents. Every elected person that I have met, and I've met a lot of elected people around the world, I find one commonality, and the commonality is that deep down they really care about the people. So they always feel that what they're doing is in the best interest of their constituency. This is what I found. And it may be completely out of sync with what is happening. It may be a minority view, but from their standpoint, they feel they're doing the right thing for their constituency.
That's a really big point. Sometimes people think that they're taking the minority view and that they're being paid and all kinds of things that you hear. But when you look back and through it all, someone has to come from what they really feel is right and for the best of everyone based on the knowledge and information that they have. So many times we see different views being, coming through the media with limited knowledge and awareness of all the things going on. Well, we're in a changing time. We're seeing a new president for sure. Thank you, God.
Yes, we're all praying that Obama wins, and we're asking everybody out there to please go out and vote. And from me to you, please vote for Obama as our next president.
I would say that in this region, I don't know how Bush is doing. We have lots of Bushes. That's plenty.
Let me just share some numbers with you. In the Democratic caucuses, remember that in the early, when we...
Democratic caucuses,
right.
Huh?
So in the Democratic caucuses, in the beginning part of this year, this area, Haiku, Paia, Makua area, had an 87% turnout for Obama. It was the highest in Hawaii.
Wow, 87%.
Of the votes that went to the caucuses were voting for Obama. And, so my district, I'm really proud to say that my district has a very, very strong support for the ideals that Obama stands for and for the person. Same goes for Molokai and for Lanai and for Upcountry. Very, very strong turnout for Obama.
And I'm sure that you would want to add that these are also very independent thinkers, and you'd say besides president and vice president, they're probably all over the political map,
Absolutely.
you know, and individual thinkers, but you know, really as a country, we can all get behind a positive direction and all be part of making, what do they say, how do you make the future become a reality more quickly? You envision it and you walk into it and do your part to bring it here, you know, like when we do with raising money in a nonprofit to aggressively go at some new technology, like, you know, what we're doing, like Zetropa. Have you explored Zetropa and biofuels?
Oh, the plant.
And algae, to be able to have 1,800 gallons of a biofuel per acre? Amazing. Where we can create solutions and replace diesel naturally and turn ourselves into a complete self-sustainable model.
And you know, the other thing you have to consider is, and this is where, you know, the creative thinking comes in. We're looking at biofuel crops. We also have to look at how much water it takes to feed those crops.
Oh, sure.
And then we have to think about the nutrients in the soil, and does it deplete the soil or does it replenish the soil? You know, so these are the things that I have to look at. I said, yes, we have to support biofuels, but we also have to make sure that it helps us to conserve water, and it helps us to replenish the soils, and it helps us to, you know, there's
right.
it's
That's
positive and positive and positive.
So, speaking of water in that way, have you looked at the desalination programs in conjunction with, well, when I think of biofuels, I think of desalination because we're sitting here with all this salt around.
Desalinization is very expensive.
Sure.
It's a process that's, the technology is perfected. They use it in the Middle East, they use it in Caribbean islands and some other places in the world. Yes, it's been looked at in Hawaii. In fact, the city and county of Honolulu is, you know, a few years out of being short of water, so they're actively pursuing desalinization. And Maui, we've looked at it at different times, you know, but again, it's a very expensive process.
Have you seen that there's some, you'll see too, there's some decentralized solutions in desalination that, you know, I don't think any technology is going to be the one flat answer, but, you know, decentralized solutions that people can do. Desalination, I've seen some, they seem like kits. It's almost like when you go camping, you get a great filter and suddenly they have things that are just amazing.
Well, you know, in Israel, for example, they have some of the best technology for desalinization in the world. And you're exactly right. They're looking at these portable units that can go move around. You take the water right there and desalinate it, take what you need, and it's a small little kit. There's also, you know, some of the international aid agencies have developed water purifiers, very cheap water purifiers. You can basically pass enough water through, purify it so that it becomes drinkable. And this has saved millions of lives in Africa
and it saves
Southeast
millions
Asia.
of gallons of water. You know, some of these technologies make us be conserving, and we'd have more water for the plants and all the things that we want just by better using the resources we have. I hope you guys are doing all that, right? I think most of it.
Well, and Maui's ahead of the game. We, you know, we actually practice a lot of what we talk about. I see it in this district, and you know, as I go around, I see people doing solar and photovoltaic, people looking at wind and water and looking at how they can conserve and how they can make it better. And this is the innovation we need, and our district does it. So Maui's ahead of the game, and we always have to know that, you know, sometimes we're going to look at some technologies that we think are great up front, and then we look at it more and we say, okay, it doesn't work for us. We have to do that experimentation. If we don't do that, we don't find out what works.
I'm changing the subject a little. I don't know if you can tell when you're looking at me, I look like either I have a cold or I was up all night. I've never been affected by the VOG. People tell me that's what's going on with me. Are you aware of what's going on?
Actually, yes, it is. The VOG is, you know, it's nature. I mean, there's a new vent on the Big Island, and the wind's blowing a certain way, and that's why we're getting.
Is that what's going on?
But it's very toxic chemicals and heavy metals that are in the air. So you have it feels like you have the flu. You have watery eyes. coughing, very lethargic, very tired, and it's because you're basically in the air is filled with these heavy metals and mercury and cadmium and all these other.
What can I do?
Not very much.
Keep breathing.
Keep breathing.
Keep breathing, and it'll go on.
And for the trade winds, that blows it off.
So, if I were to say, what issues would you like to talk about that are enough controversial that you think that they're significant as leaders of either things that you are doing or want to do, or have been challenged and would like to defend? Any things that you'd like to really share with our audience? Because a lot of you out there probably want to know what's on Kalani's mind. You know, what's been going on?
Well, again, the overarching issue is the economy. We started with that, and that's where the big debate is. But we're in a time of great structural readjustments in our economy, and I see a lot of opportunity for us because, we've entered into a globalized economy, and we've been able to see the ups and the downs of that. And I think it's some time for us to reflect and to take stock again of what we have, what's available to us here, looking at the abundance that we have. So from my point of view, yes, we have to look at the economy. It's the overarching issue. We have to make sure that jobs are sustained and created. But then it leads to the question, well, okay, what are the jobs that we want? What do we envision, as you say? How do we put this out? And how do we ensure that people go into jobs that are sustainable and help us to create a better Maui?
I know that one.
Right. Then, let's take a look at, I'm going to name these issues, right? The economy is overarching, but right under that is food security. People are very, very concerned about food security. You look at the tainted foods coming out of China, all of the additives and the precursors that are in that, and I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
So, people are now very concerned about where their food comes from, what's in it, and it's caused them to reevaluate how they value food. For example, let's say a year ago, people would go to a supermarket and they look at a bag of organic lettuce, and it'll be $3, $5. And then they look at the commercially grown lettuce, and it's $1.50. They would buy the commercial one. Now people are going in and saying, we're not sure what's in the commercial ones. The organic, the certified organic ones, they say that we ensure that we're not using these fertilizers.
So not only are these organic, but you probably have hundreds of dollars in here. I'm laughing when I'm saying it. Well, that's what you're talking about. It's like a really new world now.
Yeah. So the idea is that we're worried about our food security, and then it's causing people to value food differently. So we now look at what we consume in a different way, and it's good. It helps. It'll in the long run help us to ensure better health. Energy. And we've been talking about this for years, but we're finally at the stage, I think, where people are doing the simple things, changing out their lights, unplugging appliances, turning off things, and then they're getting even deeper because it's hitting where it hurts. They get an electric bill and they say, okay, look at this bill.
Solar water heating.
Look at this bill.
Photovoltaic.
My consumption actually went down, but my
your
bill
goes up.
went up because of the fuel surcharge. So people are getting it. They're saying, okay, we are not only reducing our consumption, but actually doing deep reductions. The solar water heaters is a classic example. We have enough sun, and the way they measure energy in the sun is a term called calories, like we measure energy that we use. There's enough calories in the sun in Hawaii to really power our solar water heaters and our photovoltaic system.
There are other
produce
things.
electricity.
How about solar thermal acoustics? Use the sun to create movement in a closed chamber and create cooling so that we don't need more electricity. There's so many solutions that we're going to have. That in small units, that's a solar refrigerator. We have so many exciting things. How kind of clean technologies, that's the kind of stuff that we can do here. All of you can encourage that. We've got laws that are on the books to encourage that kind of industry development, don't we?
Absolutely, and that's part of one of my passions has always been energy. And for many years I chaired the energy and environmental committees in the county and then in the Senate. In 2006 we did the energy reform bill, which set the stage for all of the alternative energies to become active players in Hawaii. So, wind, wave, solar, all of these technologies now have the regulatory framework to compete in Hawaii and to become an active player. So we're seeing the results of that, and I think the next legislative session we're going to see a very aggressive bill for more renewables and creating a clearer pathway for these technologies to come in. We have the political will now. We have the public will. People out there are now finally saying, let's do this. And the circumstances are there. So I think the next session at the legislature we're going to see a lot of movement in energy. The next issue is transportation. Look at my particular district. Getting from Maui to Molokai or Lanai to Maui, it's very, very difficult. And my constituents are spending a lot of money and a lot of resources, a lot of time just getting to place, just getting somewhere. So transportation, and I now chair the Transportation and International Affairs Committee, and we're looking at making sure that the transportation corridors are solid, so that people can concentrate on living as opposed to, okay, we have to spend all this time getting to Maui for something. So that's part of the reason why I chose transportation as my next endeavor. I was very concerned, Kaupo, we just opened the Kaupo Road a few weeks ago, and that road was closed for 2 years. So you couldn't go around the island.
I remember someone just asked me flying into a plane, and I thought, I wonder if it's finally open. Just open.
Just open.
Wow.
Yeah. And that took us 2 years.
Wow.
Okay, and a lot of effort. But that meant the world to the communities in Kipuhulu and Kaupo and Hana to be able to get through again. Now, all these bridges coming out on this side, I have over 70 bridges coming around this side, and they're over 100 years old. Structurally, they're very unsound. So, any one of those bridges, if it goes, I could have Hana completely isolated. And there are other areas in the state, on the Big Island, on Kauai, that have the same type of situation.
You see.
So I'm really pushing that we look at infrastructure renewal, we look at, in an economic downturn like this, the government can put a lot of resources into repair and maintenance that we need to do.
That is so fantastic. I mean, that's what I'm talking about, taking a lemon and making a lemonade and getting the peel too. So, that's very encouraging. I hope you guys are hearing the significance of this. How what seems like a challenge can become an absolute, isn't that, what do they say, the caterpillar becomes a butterfly.
And may you live, the Chinese say, may you live in interesting times, and aren't these interesting times?
Aren't these interesting times? When you said transportation, I keep thinking about what goes in this transportation corridor. Are we going to be able to buy land for a mass transportation Maui?
It's really up to Maui, Maui is pretty advanced. We were the last to have a train system, for example. The trains went out in 1962 in Maui. So I was born in 1966. It was a few years before I was born.
When you say went out, you mean they stopped running the rails?
Running, right. But they used to be from Hamakua to Kahului. In fact, if you go to Kahului, they still call it the old railroad station.
Are those railroad things in, or are they built over?
That was again, hindsight is 2020. But back in that council that I referred to earlier with, in 1997, we talked about taking the old rights of ways and preserving those rights of ways. We were the minority voice at the time. And now,
any of that left?
There's some of it left, but most of it is gone.
All right.
But the main question is, how do we deal with rapid transit on the island? Now, here's some of the parameters on it. The federal government usually picks up 80% of the cost of a local transit system. So the bus in Honolulu, 80% is paid for by the federal government. But what triggers the federal monies and the federal rules that come with that is you need to have a population base in one town of 50,000 or more in a town. We don't have that population concentration in any one town.
Do we call Maui a town? No.
No. So the federal government looks at Kahului and says, no, you don't have the population. Well, Wailuku, you don't have the population.
I see.
Kihei, but Maui, being as innovative as it is, says, okay, let's try to put in a bus system on our own. And you know what? Congratulations to the County of Maui. Council members and to the mayor went ahead and put in a system without federal assistance.
Right.
And this has been a highly successful system.
Isn't that a great thing? The buses are really a very good thing. Well, I would like to think that the larger vision of transportation corridors we can think of, and maybe we don't have federal dollars, maybe that'll be a pet project of the people of our island here to see what they want to do.
Well, the bus was the bus was the clearest example of that, because the people of Maui said, we need this, we
Right.
need this, we need this. And so the council and the county administration said, fine, we're going to go ahead do this without the federal dollars. And I'm sure that the federal transportation authorities are looking at this in amazement, because very few municipalities have been able to put in a transportation system without their help. So,
Is
you
it
know,
because they pick good routes and doing things in an economical way?
it's a combination of everything. The high price of fuel has forced a lot of people to rethink how and when they go. So, you know, now with price of gas over $4 a gallon here in Maui, and sometimes $5 a gallon on Lanai, and Molokai, and Hana, people really consider their journeys. And they consider, okay, I'm in Haiku, I'm going to Kahului, but I can do 5 things along the way instead of going back and forth. Then with the bus, you know, the idea of riding a bus for some people is like, oh, you know, I don't want to ride the bus. I know people that have gone on that bus and they come back and say, my God, this is the best thing we've done. They get on the bus, you know, like for us, sometimes we have to go to Lanai and Molokai, and we've talked about we should take the bus to Lahaina, because, you know, you can't find parking. And then
Who runs the bus system? Robert Sawai, right?
Yeah.
Well, these are the guys that do the tour buses, so hey, for those of you who used to check the schedule, you know, we could still thin the roads out. That's okay.
And the buses are full if you look at them.
Yeah, it's a great
So,
thing.
and it's all full of, you know, local people riding the bus to and from work. A lot of people from this side that work in Lahaina, you know, take the bus every day. So it's helped in a lot of ways.
It's a great thing.
In the future, you know, I think that, the rail debate is on Oahu. You know, this whole thing about should they do rail or should they not do rail. And there's some people on Maui that have said, you know, we should be looking at rail. I agree. I think we should be looking at it, but also know that, you know, it's a very expensive proposition. It's one that takes a huge amount of effort to put in. And with our population base where we are now, it may not be the best solution for us now. But I agree that we should be looking at it for the future.
That's why I was talking about the corridors, because there are certain key spots here that if we don't secure them, they'll be so out of range that we'll never be able to. So I hope we'll have a chance to review that. But that is the local thing, right? So those are the council people.
Right.
So you've gone through the processes in local council. You're going through things at a state level. Do you have you talk about politics, I'm sure it's a new career. What's your feeling? I know we always say, I'm in this seat, I'll be here forever, and then you change. You know, like when Hillary Clinton says, I'm in the Senate, don't take me to be on a cabinet. You know, we don't want to thin out the rankings of the Senate. Do you have directions and interests in something?
You know, Jason, I can tell you this, that I've always kept it in perspective. You know, being a senator is this much of a very large and rich and full life for me. So, you know, I'm very appreciative of being a senator. I'm very honored and humbled by being your senator. I also know that it's, you know, it's not my entire life.
Well, that's good.
And
for you.
you know, so for me, I'm a conduit for a lot of people to help them realize their visions and realize their goals and objectives. And for me personally, I always have to keep it in perspective that I'm just like you, just like anybody else out there. And you know, in time, I may not be a senator, and that would be okay as well. You know, that it's a part of my life. But I don't make it my entire being.
What do you do when you're not?
Well, I plant
Senator.
a lot of things, you know.
Okay.
I mean, I have a lot of gardens going, and I have my flowers going, I have my food going, and you know, I enjoy watching things grow, and I enjoy seeing plants grow and watching as something that was barren becomes fruitful and abundant. It's a wonderful feeling. So I really enjoy growing things. And during the campaign, you know, when we go house to house, I'm like any other plant collector. So, you know, I'm along the way, and I always keep my little shears in the car or somewhere close by, because I'm seeing something that I like in somebody's
when
yard.
you wonder who took that.
No, yeah, no. You know, with plants, this is what my grandmother taught me. She says, you know, with plants, they're living beings, and you always got to get permission. So I never go and snip somebody's plants without their permission, because the mana is
But you
there.
carry your shears with you.
Well,
huh?
yeah, because you talk to the owners, and you know, then you're talking about it.
And any of you that want to come up with some exciting plans for Kalani,
Yeah.
they can get in touch, right?
That's right. But you know, we talked Starry, and they said, okay, well, you know, take a cutting, and I've taken other cuttings and
Right.
plants back to people,
Well, here where we're sitting is such a beautiful place.
isn't it? Yeah. So we're fortunate. You know, we're fortunate, and we have such abundance. So in my spare time, I plant. I'm also very involved in the Pacific Islands, and I spend a lot of time in the region. I have family in Tahiti, and I spend a lot of time in Tahiti because you know, it's a whole other branch of my family. And it keeps it in perspective, because those islands are still very Polynesian. They're very, there's still a strong magic there. And I come back from Tahiti with a lot of good ideas. For example, you know, they have been dealing with the energy crisis for many years down in those islands. They have 5 archipelagos. We're 1 archipelago. And their government kept on trying to get the people in Papeete, in the capital, to use solar. And it didn't quite catch on. So they went to the most remote parts of the country, the most remote islands, which had no power. Put in the small solar systems to help power the village. And you know, they asked the villagers, why do you want power? And they said, so our kids can study, so our kids can have a light bulb at night so they can read, and they could have communications. It started in the outer islands, and it took off, and it started coming in, and then before you know it, the city people were saying, wait a minute, how come they got it and we don't? See, so I came home with this concept when, you know, we have to start on the most remote areas first, with some of the most modern technologies. The idea is leapfrogging the technology. So I go out to the region in my spare time, look for ideas, exchange ideas, and bring those home and put them into practice. Yeah?
Well, I'm a proponent for financial literacy. So entrepreneurism, financial literacy, and getting people up to speed with education, both in school, formal, and out of school. How are we doing on monies? What do you think is going to happen here as the budgets kind of shift? How are we going to allocate money? What do you think is going on?
Our budgeting process, our Constitution, first of all, says that we cannot have deficit spending. It's a wonderful, we're one of the few states that says we have to have a balanced budget. And think about this, you know, we cannot spend money unless we actually have it. So that keeps Hawaii out of huge amounts of debt. We have to also balance a budget for 6 years out. So it's not simply saying that, okay, we're going to make the budget balance for this year. We have to make sure it balances 6 years out. And that means, right, that's because we have to ensure that we have a sound, stable financial base for the government to operate. With that strong base, it means that the rest of society has a cushion. You know, when we talk about the full faith and credit of the state of Hawaii, it means that when we guarantee it, it is guaranteed. And
that's very, very significant.
And so that's why we have to
don't have any deficit going on, but we also don't have any money, which means all of you with the deep pockets in the private sector, now's your time to really be entrepreneurs and lead us into, I keep thinking, the self-sustainability revolution. More barter and trade. Bring private sector to supplement what we don't have enough money. education and otherwise.
Well, let me maybe say it in these terms. Yeah, that we need to make sure that capital moves in the society, that money is circulating. And what's happened is money's dried up. So how do you do that? Well, the entrepreneurial idea is the way to go. I mean, you need people to figure out how to keep things going, how to make sure that people are buying and selling things. I mean, you're seeing prices adjust all over the place. Rents are dropping. You know that? Rents are dropping in Hawaii.
You guys that are landlords, you're very slow because if you will look at the value of your property and see where it's going, you'll see you can lead this revolution and drop rents even quicker. Just giving you a hint. Okay, next. There are people here who are struggling even through the dropping rents because they're dropping jobs. Because
and that's the other role that government has to play, a very serious role, in that, when an economic downturn happens, like we're in right now, or the meltdown, whatever term you want to use,
okay.
Macroeconomic theory, Keynesian macroeconomic theory, says that government should spend a lot of money in capital improvement projects, okay, to first of all put money into circulation. But secondly, it creates jobs and it provides that stabilization in the free fall. People are losing jobs, losing homes, losing property. And by us doing these big projects, we keep people working, we stop the rapid downfall and stabilize. And then it starts to slowly bring it out. So that's why I'm advocating for, let's do the capital improvement projects that we have in the out years. Let's move them up.
So you'll be able to pay those rents, stabilize the rents,
keep the money flowing. And the state of Hawaii, we're one of the largest employers in the state.
We are.
And we're also one of the largest spenders in the state. So when, for instance, we just opened the Haleakala Highway, the 4 lanes on Haleakala Highway, 38 million, something like that, to put that in. That kept a lot of people working. Those construction workers, those blue-collar workers, came up to me at the blessing and at the opening and said, what's the next job? We got to feed our families. I said, we're working on it. It's coming. So we have to look at the things that we need. The infrastructure renewal. I mean, talking about the bridges coming out from Hana.
So was this bailout going to be part of that, you think? Is that what we're talking?
Well, the bailout is I don't quite understand exactly what they did. So.
The 750 bailout for the banking, I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking about the new vision of our new president to infuse dollars.
Exactly.
Means put out dollars to Hawaii, he doesn't have them, to create capital improvement projects and jobs.
Well, what President Obama is looking at is the same macroeconomic theory on a very large level. And actually, where this really works is on the federal level, because they can move quite literally billions and billions. Take a look at what Franklin Roosevelt did after the Depression. He created make-work programs. And in the process put in the modern infrastructure that allowed America to enter the greatest period of prosperity the country has ever seen.
See, so there is a rose in there.
And that's
looks like a little bud.
That's what we're looking at now. It's okay. Yes, we're in the downturn. Yes, things are stopping, but maybe now's the time to put in the infrastructure that we need.
And learn what we're doing so we don't repeat the process. And educate everyone across the board so that we can all have abundance, because there's plenty.
Mm-hmm. So, I think that's the role that our government can play in this economic downturn and crisis. And by doing that, we will help people to maintain their homes, keep their jobs, feed their families, and pay their rents.
How's that sound to you guys? Are there any subjects that you would like to cover or address with an audience? Because I don't know how often you have opportunity to sit with, I don't think of myself as the press.
Your commentator?
Sit with someone and be able to share with all of you guys.
Well, for me, I read a lot. And I go through, 4 or 5 books in a week, and I read a lot. And I'm always looking for new concepts and new ideas. And I'm always looking for old concepts and old ideas, because, sometimes we tend to be so forward-looking that we forget about what's right behind us, you know. And so I read a lot of history. I read a lot of about ancient societies and how they lived and what happens. And I think, you know, I've read a couple of times, maybe 3 times, this book called Collapse, which takes 4 societies in the world and looks at how they rose and then why they collapsed. You know, the Romans, the people in Rapa Nui, Easter Island, society in Greenland, and you know, other areas. What was the commonality? You know, it's stunning because the commonality was the processing of sewage, the waste. That was a trigger for most of these
Wow.
societies to collapse, was they could no longer deal with their waste. So for me, you know, I'm always monitoring how we deal with our waste. It's one of those metrics that I use to see how we're doing.
Someone was sharing with me about how they were shocked when they come here, how little we do here when we're on an island to managing of all these waste streams. When on the mainland and in Europe and other places of the world, nothing goes unrecycled, you know, different colored glass, I mean, in Exotica.
And the
It's a
reason,
natural part of life. Go ahead.
the reason though, is that you said it up front, we're on an island. So, you know, in the big continents, they have all these interconnected systems where you could separate the glass and then it goes down over there to those guys that process it. Here, we're dealing with the shipping, and there's a cost involved with that. So we have to, everything comes in and it stays. In a continent, it comes in, but it gets distributed a little bit differently. So really, you know, we have to be more conscious of how we do things.
We sure do.
And we have some really innovative thinkers that have, I mean, you know, we said let's crush glass and mix it as part of our asphalt in the pavement. So that took, let's use it for filtration of water. Let's use it for all of these different things, because we cannot ship it back out somewhere else.
There's a Zero Emissions Research Institute. I don't know if you...
I'm familiar with
There's a self-sustained community in South America called Gaviotas. And I met this guy named Paulo Lugari and Gunter Pauli from the Zero Emissions Research Institute. They have experts that go around to communities and governments and talk about and look to discover what their waste streams are and how to have them be the fuel for other industries so that there is no waste. That concept, you know, globally is
I mean, we're talking about, what are some of the terms like for second use, you know,
and third use.
and third use. Well, and there's companies. Hewlett Packard, for example, is a wonderful company in this regard, because they, you know, they are very conscious when they create a copier or a Xerox machine or any type of machine. They always look at the contents and they say, does it need to be made from this type of plastic? Can it be made from this, which is recyclable? Then they would take back their machines. You can send it to them in the mainland. And I've been to these plants where they crush the machines up, they separate all of the metals out, and they reuse it all again. It's a corporate philosophy that Hewlett Packard decided to do. And, you know, I mean, for me, I buy their product because I know they do this. And it costs me a little bit when at the end of the life cycle of whatever product it is to send it to them, but it's worth it for me to send it to them, because alternative, it's in
You guys too, huh?
our rubbish pile here.
I remember when I was in New York, which is before I came to Hawaii at all, and I remember there's this little book of companies, you know, they distill or have these books, now they have more formal names, companies that are doing things that are sustainable and are supporting us a sustainable, renewable world. I hope all of us are getting more and more mainstream about that and doing
I think
that.
we are. In fact, you know, we were at a restaurant earlier for breakfast, and the waitress brought over, we ordered some coffee and chai and latte and stuff, and brought it over in paper cups with the cover, and I said, you know, don't you have a ceramic cup? She said, oh, we do. Why did you're going to throw this away? I mean, we didn't need to do this. And then I went to a store and somebody started wrapping something up. I bought a shirt and started wrapping it up in tissue paper, and I said, I don't need all the wrapping.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's just a real small consciousness change in saying, I don't need that. And, you know, she was like, oh, I said, yeah, just save it. You know, just give me the shirt. I don't need the bag. I don't need this.
Right.
That's all I want is the shirt. And if everybody out there started doing this, I mean, we've just cut our consumption quite a bit.
Right. And if you buy from someone that made that shirt here on the island,
Oh, these are bamboo cloth, and it's so soft and wonderful.
see, the whole self-sustainability model has many facets. You know, it's a great concept. I think we're going to hear more about it, especially if we have representatives like Kalani English around. You know, when I was talking to Joe Suki and he was talking about future leaders, he mentioned you, and he talked, saying about style and how you deliver a message. I'm sure sometimes people don't agree with you, but they like your style, and it's an interesting thing. I have you have a district. Boy, I hear everything coming out of the walls. You know, you say I'm talking to Kalani English. Everyone has questions, all kinds of things, good, bad.
Throw some out.
It's always an interesting thing. I think that all of you out there should make it a point to get to talk to this guy, because he is not only a wealth of information, and you're a good listener, and it's nice to see that, in the years that I know you, you've grown at this, and that you have other facets of your life, and they really support what you do. When you have to represent such a rural district and have to help preserve it in such challenging times.
My most favorite part of this job is going out and talking story with people. I mean, that's the part I love. I'm a people person, so I love going out. I love hearing their stories. I love seeing their yards. I love seeing their plants. And
Cuttings, remember.
Trading. We trade a lot of stuff. We just have such a wealth of diversity here. This district is so diverse that, you cannot aim to please everyone, but I do make myself available to people so that they can, I've had people come up and say, we don't understand why you voted this way. I said, well, here's my reasons, here's what happened. And at the end, said, well, we still don't like the vote, but we understand why you vote that way. And that's all I ask is sometimes, what we have before us is two bad options. And as a senator, I have no choice. I must vote on everything that's put before me. I choose not to walk away from it. I mean, some representatives use that as a strategy.
That's a little magic. It's called, we've been talking so much, we ran out of tape. Let's pick up the conversation. It's
It's an
a
important...
lesser of two evils choice.
Yeah,
how
I
it
have
feels to be there and have to make a decision when no decision is an easy decision.
Right, and a lot of times I have to choose the lesser of two evils and vote. And a lot of times I vote no on it because of it. Sometimes I have to vote yes because it's, there's something in it that I don't agree with, but the vast majority of what it does is good. So, I've had people say, well, why did you vote on this? It has this in it. I said, yes, but it also did all these other things. So, it's something that the public really doesn't understand about our process, and that is that as a senator, I'm obliged to vote. That is, I'm obliged to vote on the bills and issues that come before me. And some of them, if I could walk away from it, it's the easiest way out, but I choose not to. I choose to make the hard decision. And I've explained to a lot of people that this is our process, and I vote no on things as well. Like the Important Ag Land bill. A lot of good things in there, but I voted no because of one section that was pretty offensive to me and to the ideals of a rural district. So it doesn't mean for those people that like the Important Ag Lands bill, I said, yes, I liked all those other parts of it, just this one part, and it was so bad for me that I voted no. And what it did was it allowed for, if you put your lands into this Important Ag Lands category, then you get 15% of that land can be reclassified into another zoning category. So it's like, well, we do all this process to protect lands, and then you get this way to reclassify 15%. So if you take 100 acres, you can move a lot of land into urban, A lot of
And there's
land.
no way to get around it, huh?
Right.
So once it's in that bill, there it is.
So that's why I voted no. I think that it was enough for me to say no, even though I liked the other parts of it.
I see.
And I worked for 2 years to
Do you
construct.
get a
the other
chance to explain that to the public like this?
parts. Not often. So
'Cause
that's
it-
why I talk about it here.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that an important thing for you to realize and understand? You know, this process is one where it takes someone who has a lot of sensitivity and range to be able to deal with things. I don't even know how to call it. You know, like you say, it's global now. Our little local, rural, self-sufficient place, you know, we're in a global picture. I, for one, have been really thrilled to see you in action, and I hope that you have great success at what you do, and I'm
Thank
really
you.
very appreciative that you took the time to do this kind of show.
Well,
This kind of thing is really important. I wish more would do it.
Well, thank you,
Others would
Jason.
come out, you know, and do this. I don't want to feel in any way be like a spokesman. I think I'm sort of known now. If I ever ran in a race, I put in my advertising dollars over 15 years. You know, it's a very interesting thing. And people have asked me about running. And I think I'm probably better off here.
I would agree with you, Jason, because you know I think first of all we have to. The Hawaiians call it kuleana. You know, you have to find what you're good at and what your kuleana is and what your role is, because Hawaiians believe that everybody has a role, has a value, and has something to add, and so it's a matter of finding that. And Hawaiians are very good at recognizing what somebody's kuleana is and letting them do it. You know. When I was growing up in Hana, you know, people like John Lynn and Tweety Lynn and Mike Min, and people that were close to my tutu, my grandmother, my grandfather. You know, I mean, they would call me governor, they would call me senator, and they would, you know, and here I am, 5 or 6 years old. I had no idea what this was. And even today, when I go home, you know, they joke with me, says, you know, we knew when you were a kid. So, you know. I would say, well, God, I never thought I would be doing this. It wasn't something I consciously went after. You know, it was something that when I came home I decided to do. But Hawaiians have a way of recognizing kuleana, and I think our greater society, if we can learn from that wisdom of the Hawaiians, to help everybody find their role and then help them excel at it, I think we would have a much more harmonious society. I know people that are really unhappy in what they're doing, and yet they have something that they do, or they call their hobby or their sideline. They're just the best at it. And it's like, why don't you do that as your, you know, make that your occupation? So if we do that, I think we'll find maybe a lot more contentment, a lot more fulfillment, a lot more happiness, and really, that's what it comes down to. For me, the bottom line of everything is, are we content? Are we happy? My job as a senator is to create hope. Bottom line, create hope for people and create the venue for them to blossom and to be the best they can be and to find their kuleana. And as a senator, I've been able to deliver on that on many levels, and I've helped scores of people find their path. And I've had a lot of people along my way in my life that have been those guiding forces for me. So it's the whole idea of giving back and creating that opportunity for the next person and helping the next generation find their way and creating hope for them.
Giving back, paying forward, all that good stuff. Pleasure. Thank you for joining me here, Kalani.
Jason, thank you very much.
Really a pleasure. Thank you for staying with us here. The hour, that's good. We went over the hour, that's good. You see, that's what's so fun about this, you know. Public access television. Couldn't do that on regular TV. We chop, chop, chop. So it really is a pleasure to have this kind of a forum. I hope more of you will choose to lead this kind of a thing. Give some of the people that we have in our world more chance to be seen and sharing, so we can get more going on, because we appreciate each other a little bit.
Yeah. You know, I have a lot of stuff online now, so go to my website at kalanienglish.com, and I have a whole lot of information there. We also have a YouTube channel, Kalani English channel, and you can go there and
There you go.
see interviews like this and other things that
We're
we've
going to
taped.
give Kalani the link so we can have this. Been using Google Video because I can do longer. Does YouTube have a longer kind
I
of
think
thing?
YouTube goes up to 15 minutes or 10
15 minutes.
Yeah.
I've been using Google, so we can see this whole show. You can watch it again if you want. You say,
So again, KalaniEnglish.com.
KalaniEnglish.com. Okay, good.
Mahalo,
Thank you
thank
again.
you.
Thank you for joining us.
Aloha.
Hope you come see us again. Aloha.
No matter where you go, no matter what you do, take that Maui style with you. Cause if you ain't Maui styling, you just living on an island. Maui styling, don't let me down. 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 There is sunshine in your heart. It's been with you from the start. Lift your head, look to the heavens, then you will feel brand new again. Don't stop me now, Maui styling, don't let me down. 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 Reach out your hand and help each other. Your mother, your father, your sister and brother.